Good evening, I'm Adrienne Arsenault in Tokyo, where the clock is ticking down, COVID cases are climbing, and anxiety courses through the host city of an Olympic Games on the edge.
Canada, get the job done.
Some competition is underway. Final rehearsals are done. Inside the Olympic bubble, they are ready. Outside on the streets of Tokyo, worries soar. What is your sense of the level of apprehension?
Well, a lot of anxiety.
I'm Ian Annamie. Also tonight, raging wildfires force more evacuations.
Wow, it was not like this a couple hours ago.
A new challenge for firefighters, thieves.
It's immensely disappointing that, people within our community would go out and do this.
Allegations of a toxic work environment inside the office of a high-profile cabinet minister. Former staffers speak out in a CBC News exclusive. And with vaccinations on the rise, is the end in sight?
I'd love to say it will end this year, but I really don't think so.
So what will it take to put the pandemic behind us? This is The National.
And this is Tokyo, where it is already Thursday, the Olympic Games, effectively just a day away now. It's a national holiday here, but this is also a city under a state of emergency in the grips of a brutal wave of COVID-19. And experts are warning it will probably get worse. So hello from the edge of Tokyo Bay. That is the Tokyo Tower in the background. There are venues all around us. The triathlon will pass by this building. With COVID cases still rising and the restrictions so acute, these have to be amongst the strangest of circumstances in Olympic history. And yet, the Olympic machine grinds on. Competition is already underway. Canadian athletes are already focused on the podium with games on the softball diamond and matches on the soccer pitch played in front of some eerily empty stands. This is the reality of an Olympic Games being held under the shadow of a pandemic in a country with surging COVID cases. On Wednesday, Tokyo hit a 6-month high with more than 1,800 new cases. A sign of the deepening crisis, the chief of the Tokyo 2020 Organizing Committee is not ruling out canceling the Games altogether if cases spike. And yet, for now, the show must go on. Even as the final touches are rehearsed for what is being called a sobering opening ceremony, major sponsors are distancing themselves. Some of Japan's biggest corporations are canceling ads and scaling back promotional events. Team Canada is also scaling back, announcing today only 30 to 40 athletes will take part in the opening ceremony because of those tightened restrictions. So the opening ceremony hasn't happened yet, and already there is a lot of news being made here in Tokyo. Ian, you're following some of the details. Can you walk us through the latest of what's happened?
That's right, Adrienne, and that news is developing about what's happening with the opening ceremony. The Tokyo Olympic Organizing Committee has fired the director of the ceremony. This is less than 36 hours before it's scheduled to begin. Officials say their decision comes after it was revealed the former comedian made a Holocaust joke during a show in 1998. In a news conference, the president of the organizing committee said that they found out about the comments on Tuesday. All of this news coming just days after a Japanese musician, well known in the country, was forced to step down as composer for the ceremony following reports of his bullying and abusive behavior in the past. Organizers say they'll now be reviewing the entire opening ceremony program. So, Adrienne, lots of questions as athletes prepare for this iconic event on Friday, and we, of course, will be following this story as it develops through this night.
Now, for a moment, put the very unusual conditions of these games aside. Something else is happening that was entirely expected and entirely uncomfortable for the athletes. It is the extreme heat. Daytime temperatures are soaring here. Thomas Degla shows us the toll that takes and how people are trying to handle it.
Under Tokyo's beating sun, it's not just the lawn that gets watered. So do the athletes, competing in what could be the hottest summer games yet.
It is a bit warm and it's a bit taxing, but we're doing okay with it.
Taxing indeed. The forecast presented on Japanese TV as downright brutal. Locals may be accustomed to the intense humidity, but under a COVID state of emergency, face masks make it extra uncomfortable.
Like 2 heavy blankets of hot air just getting slapped at you in the face.
No one has experienced this kind of Olympic Games.
It's the middle of the afternoon. It's 34 degrees out, with the humidity feels like 39. It can be hard to find a spot to sit and relax. Just this bench feels like 44 degrees.
Imagine that hot sand in bare feet, a constant reality in beach volleyball. These Canadians spent months in Brazil to know what to expect.
We could have these hot, humid conditions like Tokyo, so yes, that definitely was part of our decision to train there.
These games promise plenty of perspiration, and with it, the risk of heat exhaustion.
Relative humidities of 45, 50, 60%. That becomes a real challenge to the evaporation of sweat, which is the main way in which people keep cool when they're exercising in the heat.
Long-distance races were moved to cooler parts to avoid scenes like this. British triathlete Johnny Brownlee in 2016, overcome by the heat in Mexico, assisted by his brother in the final stretch, and collapsing on the finish line.
In every sport, almost, there is a very clear set of guidelines which indicate what are the conditions in which you can compete or you cannot compete.
For staff, there's Japanese ingenuity, from specially made vests with built-in fans to machines blowing mist. There will be no escaping the sun, only ways to confront it. Thomas Dagg, CBC News, Tokyo.
We'll have lots more on the Olympic Games coming up later in the show. I'll give you a look at life outside the restrictive Olympic bubble. One of the rules is we can't get out of the vehicle unless it's at an approved location. And so in order to try to connect, we got a little help. We'll show you what our freelance crew found from hitting the streets and talking with locals about COVID, about the anxiety surrounding the Olympic Games and vaccine hesitancy. So, Ian, I also had a lengthy conversation with Canadian Dick Pound. As you know, he's the longest-serving member of the International Olympic Committee. We will hear his thoughts. Some may surprise you about these Olympic Games and why he thinks not having spectators in the stands doesn't actually matter. Until then, back to you with the rest of tonight's top stories.
All right, Adrian. Well, here at home, we continue to keep a close eye on the worsening wildfire situation. More evacuations are taking place in Ontario, Manitoba, and British Columbia as the threat from flames and smoke climbs. Here's a snapshot of the danger. Those red dots are fires burning out of control, and from them, a haze has settled over much of Canada. Today, air quality warnings reached as far east as Nova Scotia. In eastern Manitoba, those fires have now cut power to several communities, one of them Blood Vein First Nation. Marina von Stackelberg traveled there today.
Nellie Behrens is getting out.
It was scary for me because I'm taking 3 kids' responsibility.
She's one of hundreds of people fleeing Behrens River and Blood Vein First Nations. She's been helping shuttle evacuees. Now the road into her community is closed.
It's kind of scary, you know. Going in, it wasn't that bad, but coming out now, it's just like, what the hell's going on here?
Wow, it was not like this a couple hours ago.
Another group of evacuees left last night, and this is what they encountered. Fire right next to the road. Just hours later, around midnight, the flames reached the only hydro line to 7 communities, knocking out electricity to all of them. Those evacuees are now safely in Winnipeg, but say the drive past the flames is not one they will forget.
There's fire on both sides, so the buses are coming out, which was, for me, I thought was very dangerous. And then they have to drive right through the fire.
A shock, like seeing it in real life, scary.
Nearly 4,000 people in Manitoba and northwestern Ontario have had to leave their homes, but some have decided to stay behind. Ian Bushy is the local member of the legislature. He came here today to bring supplies.
If you're there in the middle of the night and you can see the flames over the bush line and things like that too, and the power goes out, you're in total darkness. So there's a lot of fear, but there's a lot of uncertainty. But at the same time, a lot of the communities have been through this kind of thing before, so that they know what to do.
Help is on its way to fight these fires in eastern Manitoba. 120 members of the Canadian military will be deployed on Friday. Evacuees who we spoke to today say they hope this rainy weather helps too. Marina von Stackelberg, CBC News, near Blood Vein First Nation, Manitoba.
More evacuation orders were issued in British Columbia today, where about 300 wildfires are burning, and a new state of emergency is now in effect. And today, the Premier said more help is on the way.
We have Quebec firefighters on the ground now, New Brunswick on the way, 100 Mexican firefighters who we depend on annually are on their way. They'll be here in a number of days.
In total, another 500 people are expected to arrive this weekend. Up to 350 members of the Canadian Armed Forces will also be deployed. And as if it wasn't hard enough to fight those fires, the behavior of some is making it even more difficult. Karen Pauls explains.
Crews near Nelson, British Columbia are battling these fires, but they're at a big disadvantage. Twice in less than 2 weeks, their firefighting equipment has been stolen.
It's immensely disappointing that, people within our community would go out and do this.
The first theft involved hoses and sprinklers set up to protect a property. In the second, someone broke into this storage trailer, stealing $40,000 worth of pumps, chainsaws, and generators.
It's not like you can easily come by this equipment or just jump on Amazon and go and purchase it.
That's one extreme example of how people are hindering firefighting efforts. Recreational boating is another problem, like the speedboat pulling people on tubes in BC's Caribou region.
There's the fire behind Decca, and yet we have tubers on the lake. When asked, please stay off the lakes.
Just minutes earlier in that very same spot, a helicopter was picking up water from the lake. It's not the only place this is happening.
The fire started at the base of that mountain.
Last week near Vernon, search and rescue teams were called to get boaters off Kalamalka Lake.
There's a formation of 6 aircraft coming down and picking up water, dumping it, and then just going through. But there's so many people out in the lake getting in the way.
Another issue, aircrafts were grounded after they spotted drones in the air.
And to see all of a sudden everything go away and the fires just pick back up, very frustrating.
Anyone caught operating a drone that interferes with fire control could be fined up to $100,000, be jailed for up to 1 year, or both.
Keep out of the way of aircraft, keep out of the way of the crews, let them do their job.
Because Mother Nature is throwing enough at fire crews without humans making it worse. Karen Pauls, CBC News, Vancouver.
Wildfires are also raging in the U.S., but today extreme heat was the hot topic in Washington. Judy Trin now with a push to find solutions for American cities and the world.
Raging wildfires in the western United States have spread across 13 states.
It was so bad that we had black iron skillets up there. They welded themselves together.
The largest inferno, Oregon's Bootleg Fire, can be seen from space.
It's the driest that it's been since 1895, and so with the weather conditions that we've had, you match up weather with lots of stuff ready to burn, and it's just a really dangerous combination.
The smoke from the wildfires has spread, surrounding New York in a haze and triggering an air quality alert in Washington. Adding to the problem, unrelenting heat in parts of the U.S.
As extreme heat
Today, House representatives met at the Capitol to discuss how to help cities find solutions to extreme heat.
The CDC officially reports that heat kills more than 600 Americans a year, but other studies point to this being a severe undercount.
In Portland, earlier this summer, temperatures hit 46 degrees, buckling roads and bending streetcar cables. More than 100 people have died in Oregon, many of them homeless, migrants and people of color who couldn't escape the heat.
These are folks that, a lot of them are folks that, we may have served at one time who were just happy to be in housing, and then they got into housing without air conditioning and died.
From heat waves to floods in Europe and Asia, climate change is a global challenge. Abroad, the U.S. tried to make the case for bolder reductions in carbon emissions to curb global warming.
We're already seeing dramatic consequences with 1.2 degrees. Imagine the doubling. To contemplate doubling that is to invite catastrophe.
It will be tough for the United States to convince the international community to set ambitious targets on climate change when much of the globe is still in the grip of the COVID-19 pandemic. Judy Trin, CBC News, Washington.
U.S. President Joe Biden has nominated a new ambassador to Canada. David Cohen is a senior advisor at the U.S. communications giant Comcast. A longtime business executive and attorney, Cohen had previously served as chief of staff to the mayor of Philadelphia. The nomination still requires the approval of the U.S. Senate. And it appears Green Party leader Annamie Paul's leadership troubles may not be over. The party and its financial arm are taking her to court, fighting to revive a no-confidence vote. This after an independent arbitrator shut down the process until next month, along with a review of Paul's membership. Court documents show party members now want that ruling overturned, arguing the arbitrator made mistakes and overreached in his decision. Now to a CBC News exclusive. The Federal Minister of Crown Indigenous Relations, David Bennett, has long been a face of the Liberal government's Truth and Reconciliation effort. But as Jorge Barrera shows us, former staffers say that public image didn't match the way Indigenous staff were treated inside her office.
What Minister Bennett did was wrong. It was hurtful.
Only a month ago, Crown Indigenous Relations Minister David Bennett texted her way into controversy over a message sent to independent MP Jody Wilson-Raybould.
I, David Bennett.
Now, some of Bennett's former ministerial staffers are speaking out, saying the minister sworn in to improve federal relations with Indigenous peoples needs to do just that inside her own office. CBC News spoke to over half a dozen who work for the minister's office, granted confidentiality over concerns speaking out publicly could impact their current employment. They said a toxic atmosphere afflicted the office, caused in part by a clannish, tight inner circle around Bennett.
My mental health was destroyed after working in that office.
Former staffers allege at least 5 separate verbal complaints fell on deaf ears, including to the minister's chief of staff, the Prime Minister's office, and Bennett herself.
The complaints were never addressed. They were never resolved.
The former staffer said Indigenous employees' views were often dismissed.
Often you were sidelined and not really involved to validate what was being discussed.
CBC News reached out to Bennett. She responded with a statement saying she has always focused on creating an inclusive environment that respected all voices on her team. It has been imperative to me that the voices of Indigenous members of our team are heard. I am very concerned that any former staff would feel they are not an integral part of our team or that their perspectives were not valued. Bennett said anytime human resources issues surfaced in her office, they were taken seriously and dealt with expeditiously. The Prime Minister's office would not offer an on-the-record comment. A senior government official said the PMO had no record and officials had no recollection of any complaints about Bennett's office. Jorge Barrera, CBC News, Gatineau, Quebec.
The Liberal government's 2-day summit on anti-racism is now underway. Today's focus, anti-Semitism. It is sharply on the rise, according to a Jewish human rights organization, but also increasing calls to action. As Travis Danraj explains, the summit does have its critics.
I don't know! Stop! Holy shit.
Early July, a Jewish man attacked in Toronto.
Hey, what's up?
Not much. Jewish much? Also this month, a man brandishing a swastika on his chest in a Toronto park. Even Jewish leaders have been targeted.
Just a few weeks ago, I was accosted by an anti-Semite who hit me with words that I can't even repeat.
A recent audit by B'nai B'rith Canada found there were more than 2,600 anti-Semitic incidents last year, up 18.3% from 2019, a troubling statistic being discussed at this week's National Summit on Racism.
We're here to continue to fight and reject anti-Semitism in all of its forms.
Far too many people are getting sucked into fake news stories and conspiracy theories about the Jewish community that are leading to acts of intimidation, harassment, assault, and other violence.
But there is criticism the summit is excluding many that wanted to attend, including opposition leaders.
Not to invite the only Jewish federal leader to attend, I think is a loss.
You need to have different perspectives at the table and not just the same ones and the voices you want to hear.
The government says it is committed to listening to all voices, today directing $6 million through its security infrastructure program to help at-risk communities beef up security.
We'll continue to work with everyone whose safety and security is being threatened by the actions of those who are intolerant and hateful.
Applications for the program are only accepted during certain times of the year. Places of worship also can't be reimbursed for urgent expenses, two issues religious leaders want fixed. Tomorrow, attention at the summit will turn to tackling Islamophobia. Leaders of all faiths agree once the conversations are over, real action is needed so communities can live free of fear. Travis Danrush, CBC News, Ottawa.
COVID restrictions are easing, vaccinations on the rise. So are we any closer to an end to the pandemic?
I'd love to say it will end this year, but I really don't think so.
Ahead tonight, the hard reality from the WHO and the likely scenarios that will bring it all to an end.
And I'll be back from Tokyo with the IOC's Dick Pound and his take on no fans in the stands.
These things are made for television anyway.
They are.
The crowd is largely irrelevant.
And Team Canada comes out swinging.
Canada, get the job done. 4-0 the final.
We'll tell you about one pitcher's near-death experience and her recovery to get her right back on the mound. We'll be back in time. Well, the Olympic torch is closing in on its final destination, Friday's opening ceremony. Most of the relay runs were supposed to have taken place on public roads. They were canceled because of rising COVID cases and a state of emergency in Tokyo. So looking at Tokyo's bustling streets, it is almost as if the pandemic is an afterthought. But Japan has a real COVID problem, and only a third of the population has even had one dose of the vaccine. Get past appearances, and you'll see anxiety runs deep. To see it is to realize the disconnect. How can a city under a fourth state of emergency still look so vibrant? How can there be decrees about no spectators and closing open-air fan zones when the same rigor doesn't apply outside the Olympic bubble? So what is the reality of COVID's clutch here? On the surface, it doesn't seem like there's a lot of anxiety. The thing is, though, in the first 14 days, one of the rules is we can't get out of the vehicle unless it's at an approved location. And so, in order to try to connect, we got a little help. A freelance crew took a wander for us, and in a city where emergency rules suggest alcohol not be served, it is not hard to find booze on offer in crowded, loud underground bars. The reality is we're not following the emergency rules, says Hidenori Ikeda. He's not vaccinated, not sure he wants to be. He's scared of adverse reactions. But here's where this gets curious. He says he's actually very worried about COVID. That's why he's against the Olympics being here. It's not good if the number of infected people goes up, he adds. One man in one bar, but crowds are still everywhere. In the streets, the pachinko parlors. And that's telling. Constitutionally, Japan cannot order places to close. It can suggest. At the pandemic start, people listened, suffered terribly economically. Now they're just fed up, openly resenting the Olympic influx, even if rules within that bubble are so strict. I thank you so much for coming. It was very With a guest pass, political scientist Koichi Nakano was able to come to see us. You traverse the real world of Tokyo and this Olympic bubble. How do you explain these two solitudes?
It's very bizarre. And of course, we don't know, which side is more secure.
What is your sense of the level of apprehension amongst the people of this city and this country?
Well, a lot of anxiety, and quite frankly, I'm really worried about the rise of xenophobic sentiment in Japan. Japan is an insular country with its own sort of insular attitude, I have to say. There is this idea Japan is a clean, peaceful country and threats come from outside. There's persistent sort of feeding of negative idea of, kind of dangerous foreigners are arriving. This is really not what the Olympics is supposed to be.
Perspective counts. Japan's brush with COVID hasn't been as acute as many others have endured. And with more hospital beds per 1,000 people than most other countries, the emergency hasn't yet felt urgent. But numbers now rise towards a fifth wave just as testing rates come down. And then there's the slow vaccine rollout. Why is that? Step into Dr. Haruo Ozaki's busy clinic, as the freelance crew did on CBC's behalf. Ozaki is the president of the Tokyo Medical Association, one of hundreds of physicians worried about hosting the games and vaccinations catching up. One hurdle, the paper. Look, he says, at what he files for 1 day of COVID shots. Patients have to wait for vaccination invitations that come in the mail, and they take a while.
Japanese system is too many questions.
He suspects if it was all simpler, the vaccinations could happen faster. But then there's the hesitancy. Japan has one of the lowest rates of vaccine confidence in the world. There's a story behind that. Back in the 90s, complaints about the measles, mumps, and rubella vaccine led Japan to halt it. Lawsuits made the government responsible for adverse effects. So in 1994, vaccines became optional. To win trust, Japan now conducts its own clinical trials. Clinical trials have been conducted in Japan for vaccines that were already found to be safe, the doctor says. That's why the introduction of the vaccine was delayed. It is getting better, but not by much. He was able to do just 70 shots in 1 day. So Dr. Ozaki, aside from being busy, is nervous. And long before the spectator ban, his prescription was just watch on TV.
Stay home Olympics.
The Stay Home Olympics. That is exactly what is going to happen in a country not yet ready to greet the world. With no fans in the stands, though, competitions won't sound as intense or energetic as we're used to. But the IOC's Dick Pound doesn't seem fazed.
And you can create crowd noise. We've seen it in North America. You
Can fake it.
Yeah, you can fake it.
Our frank conversation next. Welcome back. We are in Tokyo tonight ahead of the Olympic Games. And a little while ago, I had a chance to speak with one of the most high-profile figures in Canadian sports. Dick Pound is the longest-serving member of the International Olympic Committee, served twice as vice president of the organization. We talked about how unusual these Olympic Games are and what impact he thinks COVID restrictions may have. Thank you for joining us. I know you have seen so many different Olympics. Does it matter that there aren't going to be spectators in the stands?
Not as far as I'm concerned. I mean, my view is that spectators are nice to have. In some sports and for some athletes, the excitement of a crowd seems to produce better performances. But when you realize that 99.5% of the people around the world, maybe more, will experience Tokyo through television or on some other electronic platform, they don't care whether there are spectators in the crowd or not. I mean, the focus will be on the action, and you can create crowd noise. We've seen it in North America. You can
fake it.
You can fake it, and so you
can't fake the mums and dads not being there.
No, you can't fake the mums and dads. That's for sure, and that's disappointing.
So who's going to be at the opening ceremony watching it then?
In terms of people?
Yeah.
I assume whoever marches in the opening ceremony's parade, there'll certainly be seats in the stadium for them, and so it's of course these things are made for television anyway. They're not.
They are.
The crowd is largely irrelevant, and every once in a while you give them some lights to wave around.
I guess they're irrelevant until people who feel wounded see hypocrisy, or they see something that looks unfair. Are there going to be IOC executive boards there? Are there going to be corporate sponsors there? Are there going to be members of winter federations there? And have there been discussions about maybe we shouldn't do that because the offense might be outsized for the Japanese people who can't be there?
Well, I mean, there are some people in an Olympic context who should be there. I mean, the international federations run the sports and the competitions.
Are there winter federation representatives showing up?
There may be, but I mean, if you have the president and secretary of 7 international sports federations. I don't think the world is going to end. I mean, somebody may try and make a mountain out of that molehill, but...
Well, I mean, that might be me, because I'm wondering if there's someone who's representing a winter sport, why would they need to be in Tokyo?
Well, you learn something every time you see or attend an Olympic Games. And 6 months from now, we're going to be in Beijing. And so a lot of them might be putting the Beijing trip at one end or the other of you know, a day or so in Tokyo.
But there hasn't been a discussion about tone or maybe treading more carefully optically for the sake of the Japanese people.
Well, you know, the Olympic movement has done an awful lot to make this possible. You know, our international federations, for example, had to completely redo their 2021 competition schedules. World championships had to be moved and all those things. I mean, we have walked the extra mile, both financially and organizationally with Tokyo. So, I mean, it's not a real issue as far as I'm concerned.
Okay. One last question about Tokyo. What are you worried about for this Olympics?
Well, I would be worried if my expectation that once the games start, public opinion is going to shift. I'm worried that that might not happen. The social media saying this is going to happen, this is going to happen, and that's not going to happen. If people see that they're just totally uninformed, and they can become irrelevant. And that's really what you hope.
I didn't hear you say outbreak in there. You don't seem worried that there will be a big team that can't compete because of an outbreak or... Well,
you know, if that happens, it happens. Yeah. But non-competing in that context is not a boycott. That's a health issue that you know, it's too bad for that particular country, but the health and safety of everybody else is even more important.
So we've talked a lot about the challenging circumstances of these Tokyo 2020 Olympics being held during a global pandemic, but there is plenty else that makes these Olympic Games unique. Here's Thomas Degla and Briar Stewart with some key things to watch for, including a push to attract some younger fans.
Well, Adrian, beyond the results and medal counts, there'll be plenty to watch for. Yes, COVID is making these games unique, but there are other factors that are bound to characterize Tokyo 2020. Keep in mind the heat and humidity here. These are on track to be the hottest summer games on record. How is that going to affect the athletes' performances? Will we, for instance, see fewer world records set than we typically would? We're also in the middle of a racial and social and historical reckoning in Canada and other countries. So how is that going to play out here? Keep in mind, at the Olympics, many forms of political protest remain banned. Plus, we happen to be in a country with a high-tech culture. So I'll be keen to see how Japanese ingenuity is going to shape these games.
I'm at the Ariake Sports Park, and this was one of the temporary venues built for the Games. And it's here where new events, including skateboarding and BMX freestyle, are going to be staged. Of course, for officials, their big priority is to hold these Games in as safe a way as possible and limit the spread of COVID-19. But another focus for officials is to try to make the Olympics more relevant for a younger audience. And a big part of that is by debuting sports like skateboarding and surfing. They were really hoping that this entire area here would be one large fan zone. They were going to have like an urban street party atmosphere. Of course, because of COVID, that's not going to happen, but IOC officials are hoping that younger people still tune in.
So tomorrow night, we will give you an inside look at Team Canada and how they are getting ready for an Olympic Games without proud parents in the stands.
In those rare moments of connection with Japanese fans, the welcome for Canadian athletes is magic. But mostly these are the all-work, no-play Olympics. And after 5, not 4 years of training for this moment, forgive the emotions that overflow.
It's a really big deal for me to be here. I get chills talking about it. It's just, we're here. I'm so excited.
For the families and friends back at home, a little comfort knowing the athletes are all looking after each other. now that Canada is in the House. That is tomorrow on The National.
All right, thanks, Adrian. Next on The National, while restrictions are easing, the pandemic, of course, continues. When does it end?
If we're really lucky, we'll have it under control next year.
The WHO has a bleak outlook, but scientists say there are two likely outcomes. Stay with us. Welcome back. The United States has extended COVID-19 travel restrictions until at least August 21st. Land borders with Canada and Mexico will remain closed to non-essential travel. U.S. officials say reopening poses too great a risk. Ottawa says the decision doesn't change Canada's plan to open its border to fully vaccinated Americans on August the 9th. The number of new COVID cases on this side of the border continues to fall, and the rate of vaccinations continues to rise. So are we nearing the beginning of the end of the pandemic? As Christine Birak tells us, the answer is complicated.
With life returning to a new normal across Canada, many are asking, when will this pandemic end? The world remains on a COVID roller coaster, with cases of the Delta variant climbing in several countries. But here at home, infections have dropped dramatically. Down from a peak of nearly 10,000 cases a day in April to about 300.
I'd love to say it will end this year, but I really don't think so. If we're really lucky, we'll have it under control next year.
He adds, in countries with high vaccination rates like Canada, the pandemic will likely be over sooner. Based on past viruses, experts say there are two likely endings.
One is a biological way of it ending, with the virus changing or becoming less aggressive or vanishing, which has happened.
Identified in 2003, SARS was one of the most recent viruses to simply vanish on its own, while smallpox is the only human disease that's ever been eradicated. But this pandemic will likely end differently.
The other is a social ending, where the death rate is not in excess of what has been expected, and people just collectively decide that what remains can be lived with or managed.
In other words, as more people become protected from this coronavirus through vaccination or natural infection, the disease will become less severe.
Hopefully we're entering that shift into a kind of endemic mode where we have low levels of COVID, it's around, but it doesn't, because we have so much immunity in the population, we don't threaten the healthcare system.
This coronavirus could be like the flu. Better yet, if the infection remains mild in children and they develop immunity, when they're older, the virus may just cause a cold. However this pandemic ends, experts say vaccines are key.
So why aren't we sharing? Because that for me is the big problem we have right now.
Because even if Canadians exit the pandemic roller coaster this year, a new variant could turn the world upside down. Christine Birak, CBC News, Toronto.
Next on The National, competition is underway in Tokyo, including softball.
And that ball's hit hard and on a line, and you can get out of this ballpark right now.
Canada coming out of the gate with a win, and on the roster a pitcher who almost didn't get there.
I was in a coma for about 10 days.
We'll tell you her story next.
I'm Jamie Poisson, and tomorrow on CBC's Daily News podcast, Front Burner, senior correspondent Adrian Arsenault joins me from Tokyo to talk about the most challenging and debated Olympics in modern history. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
In Tokyo, Team Canada's softball team was defeated by the U.S. 1-0. This was Canada's second matchup of the Olympic Games. They beat Mexico earlier. On the field, the team's top pitcher, you wouldn't know it from watching her play, but just 3 years ago, she was fighting for her life. 26-year-old Sara Groenewegen has overcome incredible odds to get where she is now. Our colleagues at CBC Sports have been following the journeys of Canadian athletes, and tonight they bring us Sara's story.
Number 17, Sara Groenewegen.
So it was July 2018. We were playing at the Canada Cup.
Pitching for Team Canada would be Sara Groenewegen.
And I kind of just felt sharp pain in my back.
Here's the pitch, a swing and a miss.
I went to the hospital. I remember getting checked in, getting my wristband, and then it's pretty spotty. My body just couldn't produce enough oxygen as my lungs were so infected. So Legionnaire's disease is just ultimately a severe form of pneumonia. I think it was a 3% chance of living that first night that they put me in the coma because they had no idea what was going on. I was in a coma for about 10 days.
I'm looking at my daughter who, you know, her chances of survival are, you know, poor at best. So yeah, it was a tough day. It was a tough day for sure.
Waking up from the coma, it just felt like I was dreaming the whole time, if that makes sense. First step was sitting up, and then from there, it's ultimately just a progression. So sitting up, tried to get standing up. The next day was walking 1 step. Next day was 2 steps. So you got help grow up? I think my biggest motivation in that time was just getting back to the field. Taking the mound for the first time, honestly, was one of the best feelings ever.
I always look back at, you know, the time that she had in the hospital and how fragile life can be.
Another Canadian run.
Qualifying for Tokyo in itself is an amazing thing. If you had asked me 2 years ago at this point, I wouldn't have even said I'd be able to play again.
Tokyo, here we come.
There's no other feeling like it. I'm super excited.
And you can watch the Canadian women's softball team in their next matchup against Australia. That's Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern. Find that and all other Olympic events on CBC Television and CBC Gem. Looking way ahead now, the International Olympic Committee has announced that Brisbane, Australia will host the Olympic Games in 2032. There were celebrations in the city following the announcement. The International Olympic Committee made that announcement from Tokyo. It will be Australia's 3rd time hosting the Games. Brisbane had already been selected as the sole contender earlier this year. Today's announcement was finalizing that pick. Up next, a donut shop that's becoming known for more than just its baked goods.
Maybe it's the 30-foot sprinkle sunshine that everybody kind of needs.
How this Ontario business owner created an accidental landmark. That's coming up right after the break. This Ontario donut shop has been getting a lot of attention recently, and not just because of their sweet treats. People have been coming from all over, many driving for hours to see and photograph the giant sign beside the shop. Tonight, the owner's reaction is our moment.
Our shop is 5 years old, but the donut is about 3 years old. They go in for the experience of the actual donut and they just take pictures everywhere. And it's a thing. Maybe it's the 30-foot sprinkle sunshine that everybody kind of needs. I didn't know it was going to be such a big deal. I just had an imagination and just went with it. The pole is 12 feet into the ground. The logistics and engineering of it was just an amazing thing. I had no idea that this big donut that I just had in my dream is going to be loved by everyone. It brings tears to my eyes when I see people come in and take all kinds of pictures, if they only knew the story behind everything. And it's flattering when people travel 2 hours to come and line up for a donut. I didn't know that I was creating a landmark, but it's really cool.
I love donuts, and I'm here for any kind of national monument or, I guess, sort of display like that becomes social media crazy, that's based on a donut, but 2-hour drive. And the thing is, too, for some of the people that drive 2 hours, they don't get their donuts because this shop sells out every single day. They also don't have an advertising budget, as I understand it, so all the advertising is what they get via social media. And as you can see, it's working out pretty well for them. That is the National for July 21st. Good night.